Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out Cruel Summer and Bananarama, how the new wave Ronettes dominated the 80s. No British canon.
As a subgenre, girl groups have gifted us with so many moments of pop perfection. For the most part, these groups were...
I've never heard of two of those. I wish I'd never heard of the Spice Girls. Girls Aloud?
For the most part, these
here.
groups were assembled by a producer for the purpose of creating chart hits, with little musical input from the performers.
In the case of Ronettes, Ronnie Spector was locked in her basement by Phil Spector. That's how he did it.
The purpose of creating chart hits, with little musical input from the performers. But formed in 1981, Bananarama split from the formula, spurred on by the DIY ethos of punk and the out-there fashion of the new romantics. They hit this...
Just realizing this whole video he's going to pronounce it Bananarama, and I would have said Bananarama, 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 Bananarama. I'm sticking with Bananarama. I'm sticking with my true American self. Oh, sick and...
Seen in Doc Martens, dungarees, and bird nest hair. They hit the scene in Doc Martens, dungarees, and bird nest hair, self-possessed and spewing hits. A bevy of early covers would make way for some of the finest British pop of the 1980s.
Hang on. Bird nest hair? Yeah. Let's get in the flavor. Let's take part in the style. How's that looking? It's in my mouth. Okay, alright. I do need to see somewhat, so... Oh god. I don't know. Okay. This isn't working. Is that bird nesty enough? No? I give up. I can't. I don't like having hair in my face because it gives me zits on my forehead. I'm not gonna do it.
Their calling card, a scorching dog day confection, infused with shambolic dance moves, and the mother of all marimba lines. This is New British Canon, and this is the story of Cruel Summer.
Okay, interesting. I've definitely heard the song Cruel Summer. I didn't know it was Bananarama that did it. I know Ace of Base did a cover of it. I think there's been a few other covers. Karen Woodward, Sarah Dallin, and Siobhan Fahey, 1977-81, The Slits. Is that... Is that the name of a girl group? The Slits? Funny. The Slits, the Blitz Club, and Paul Cook. Song, Typical Girls. The Slits. Okay, it is. Wow, the Slits. Great. All right.
The central duo of Bananarama, Karen Woodward and Sarah Dallin, grew up in the midst of UK punk, spending most of their teens day-tripping down to London to see the likes of Generation X, The Clash, and The Slits.
Billy Idol. Joe Strummer.
As much as the energy and get off your ass and do something spirit of the music inspired them, they were further animated by their anything-goes approach to fashion. We were do-it-yourself punks. I used to wear my uncle's policeman shirt and my dad's skinny tie and safety pins. I loved punk. I remember going out one day looking like Farrah Fawcett Majors, and coming back with a black crop, and my mum refused to speak to me. After finishing school, Woodward and Darlin would move to London to be better placed at the hive of punk activity. Woodward taking a job at the BBC in the disappointingly unpunk pensions department.
Oh.
Or Darlin would start a degree in journalism at the London College of Fashion. Here, Darlin would encounter like-minded Irish-born punk, Siobhan Fahey. The three soon becoming an unbreakable trifecta. But by their arrival in 1980, the initial punk movement had fizzled, and the London Vogue had gone from shouty boys with free chords to the more fashion-conscious, gender-fluid Blitz Club set. And every night the three friends headed to the Blitz to throw shapes in their self-made clothing, in the presence of what would become the New Romantics.
Hang on. I just want to look up the Slits. What a great name. Punk post band based in London, formed in 1976 by members of the groups The Flowers of Romance and The Castrators. Whoever is involved in this is good at shocking band names. And the Blitz Club, the New Romantic. Oh, okay. There's no Wikipedia about the. Oh, wait. There it is. Oh, Munich. That's not the same place. We're talking London. Okay. Interesting. Moving on.
To Kraftwerk, Berlin-era Bowie, and early Human League.
Wir sind an Heaven für einen Tag.
The Blitz was...
Wow. The Kraftwerk sounded great. That, David Bowie track sounded kind of murky. You may have seen my face. That's the only reason. I think it's a good song. I like the keyboard sounds in it. But then this Human League song, I've heard of the Human League. Don't You Want Me? But I've never heard this song, Empire State Human League.
Für einen Tag.
The Blitz was so far removed from any experience we'd ever had before. Everyone was dressed up, and each person's look was a new thrill. In fact, if you didn't look like you made an effort to look fabulous, you wouldn't be allowed through the door. The club's host and door whore extraordinaire, Steve Strange, saw to that.
Door whore.
Famously turning away Mick Jagger. Of course, we were there the night it happened.
Door whore. Never heard that term. I gotta look that up. Is that common term? Door whore. Door whore. You don't hear people call others whores very often anymore. When I was a kid, that was like the worst thing you could say. Door whore. Okay. Yeah, it's a common phrase apparently. But they were there the night Mick Jagger got turned away for not looking fabulous enough, Mick. Get those lips out.
It was through their many visits to the Blitz that they became acquainted with the musical elite of London at the time, members of Spandau Ballet and Boy George, but also the trendier old guard. This meant that after being kicked out of their YWCA hostel for keeping irregular hours and generally being a noisy nuisance, they were invited to stay in the room above the Sex Pistols' old rehearsal space by their former drummer, Paul Cook. It was a bit of a hovel. There were no proper facilities, we'd have to boil an egg in a kettle, and the roof was always leaking. But it was just so fantastic to be in the West End. It's when this all started. Paul suggested we do backing vocals for his band with Steve Jones.
Just another dream, just like any other dream.
And said, why
That sounds gigantic.
Just like any other dream.
Huge.
and said, why don't you make a demo? That was it.
Wow. See, when I think of Bananarama, I think of cheesy pop, you know? Shameless cheesy pop. But apparently they were punks. These ladies were pretty hardcore. Living in squalor. They're tougher than me, right? The early singles of Bananarama, 1981 to 82, I Am Wanna, the Fun Boy 3 and Top of the Pops song, I Am Wanna, 7-inch version, Bananarama.
Despite Cook's enthusiasm, the newly formed group had little in the way of musical background. They had been part of their respective schools' choirs, and Woodward was a competent pianist. But not wanting to take up guitar or drums, They would adopt the classic girl group format with a punk twist.
You don't need to know how to play guitar or drums, right? A little piano, synth, get a drum machine, confidence. That's all you need. It's all about confidence. Get up on stage, look like you know what you're doing, no fear. That's a performer.
All equal, no lead, singing in unison, and with dance routines that were purposely simplistic and out of step. It was very ironic. We were a girl group, so it was kind of a piss take of being in a girl group in our own shonky way.
Oh, so they were kind of making fun of the girl group thing. I respect them so much more.
In June 1981, they recorded a one-track demo produced by Paul Cook, a cover of the mostly in Swahili disco song from Black Blood, IEA Moana, a song they had discovered at a French disco. Now,
Hey, more white people taking black music to make themselves wealthy. Way to go.
a band,
I'm half joking. I'm half joking.
and they needed a name. Repulsed by the studio owner's suggestion of the
Bananarama.
pineapple chunks, they combined the tropical vibe of a banana with the Roxy music song, Pajamarama.
Couldn't sleep awake last night. Oh, how I'd love to hold you tight.
And so Bananarama was born. Although a
Okay.
demo, the Cook version of IEA Moana was deemed good enough to be the group's first single. It was released in September 1981 by independent Demon Records, but did not make the top 75. It did, however, fit in with the African-inspired moment of many of Bananarama's post-punk contemporaries.
Right. That's interesting. They showed Adam and the Ants, and I reacted to a video about them. Trash Theory video. Y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe, by the way. And I learned that Adam and the Ants were really big into drums. They were inspired by like world music, African drums, a lot of rhythmic stuff going on. I guess that fed over to Bananarama. The Slits. Oh, let's hear the Slits.
Inspired moment of many of Bananarama's post-punk contemporaries.
Don't take it serious. You can't not be serious. We're a family, one don't get it. We are family, yeah.
Which led to play on John Peel's radio show and write-ups in the NME. This caught the attention of former Specials frontman Terry Hall, who invited Bananarama to sing on the debut album of his new band, The Fun Boy Free.
Okay.
They just liked us because we
That sounded murky.
They just liked us because we were so unpompous and unglamorous, and we wore moccasins, and they wore moccasins, so they thought we were alright. But we were shitting ourselves because we thought that they thought we were proper singers. But they let us play percussion and everything, and Siobhan got into trouble with the cowbells. Their style was really shambolic, and we were pretty shambolic, so it sort of fitted.
Siobhan got in trouble with the cowbells? What'd she do with the cowbells? Siobhan.
Bananarama would feature on 4 tracks, including its chipper second single, It Ain't What You Do, It's the Way That You Do It, a reimagining of an old jazz tune, which became a top 5 smash.
Ain't what you do,
It's the way hot you do it.
ain't what you do.
It's the way hot you do it.
Top of the Pops beckoned, and Woodward returned to the BBC studios, no longer as a pensions clerk, but as a pop star.
Wow.
The buzz about Bananarama was such that we were offered a one-off singles deal with Decca, later London Records.
Huh.
Not an album. Clearly nobody had a tremendous amount of faith in 3 young women, achieving anything more than a momentary snippet of success. But we weren't going to let that deter us. We took their singles deal and ran with it.
I've never heard of a singles deal. So they got a deal to record one single? Maybe more than one single. a one-off singles deal. I kind of like that. Short-term commitment, right? I like it. Do it.
Bananarama would again team up with the Funboy 3 for a cover of the Velvelettes. He's really saying something.
Okay.
It not only went top 5, but its video would get ample play on the fledgling MTV,
Really?
becoming a particular favourite of a pre-fame Madonna. Given their continued success, London Records relented and kept them on for an album deal. After hearing Imagination's Body Talk, went out clubbing. They sought out the production team behind this slinky piece of pop funk, Tony Swain and Steve Jolly. On their first meeting, they presented Bananarama with a track titled Big Red Motorbike, which the band lyrically reworked into their first original single, Shy Boy. I think our producers wrote that visualizing us as a modern day Supremes, but it's not a conscious attempt on our part to be like those Tamla girl groups.
Interesting, because they are doing covers of girl group-ish songs, right? I feel like their approach is kind of brilliant. So the single did well, and they got a full-on record deal. Okay, keep going, girls.
Shy Boy would provide a template for the early Bananarama sound. The girls singing in a cool deadpan, on top of a fun, pillowy, synthetic pop R&B groove.
Cool.
Released in March 19...
Wow, they are way ahead of the beat with the vocals. Yeah, they're anticipating the beat a little bit. If you're out there and you're going to do a remix of this song, maybe delay the vocals by 15 milliseconds. It'll feel better. Trust me.
Released in March 1983, Bananarama's debut album, Deep Sea Skiving, which feature 3 top 5 singles, alongside several tracks written or co-written by the group.
3 top 5 singles? Okay. For my American friends, skiving is the British term for like skipping school.
Top 5 singles, alongside several tracks written or co-written by the group. But the first single without writing help from Swain and Jolly, the ABBA-esque ballad Cheers Then, would fail to break the UK top 40. Not only would this knock the group's confidence writing-wise, it also swore them off releasing ballads as singles for most of their career. Fahy would also write the album track Young at Heart with her then boyfriend Robert Hodgins. It would be re-recorded
Never heard
by
it.
his band, Scottish jangle poppers The Bluebells, in 1984. And thanks to its use in a Volkswagen advert, it became a UK number 1 in 1993. More chart success meant even more appearances on Top of the Pops, further exposing the public to their vision-obscuring hair, idiosyncratic fashion, and rudimentary dance moves.
Yeah, the dancing is bad, but it's intentional, so I respect
There
it.
was this short but weird period where all 3 of us were signing on the dole, while simultaneously gracing the nation's television screens, with everyone thinking we'd hit the big time. But we still hadn't had an advance, and there was no money in the pipeline.
Hang on, what does signing on the dole mean? Signing on the dole. Apply for unemployment benefits. Oh, so they were on like food stamps or something? That's so familiar. What a hit. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Cruel Summer and Being Taken Seriously. 1983 to 84. Cruel Summer, Bananarama, and Band-Aid. Song Cruel Summer, Bananarama.
Despite their chart success, increasingly Bananarama were being portrayed in the press as fluffy and disposable. Due to the band members' collective shyness, interviews would seem standoffish and often be derailed by awkward bursts of laughter.
Who's going to be giving you singing lessons, and what kind of dancing are you planning to do?
Well, I don't know really. We haven't worked that one out either.
I don't know, they've been drinking again.
What credibility they'd accrue.
Huh. Yeah, that didn't seem that bad. I mean, they just look kind of shy. That's not bad. But that goes against the whole confidence thing, right? Can't show fear. No fear.
Crude from Cook, Hall and Peel was quickly evaporating. They were pop when that was considered a 4-letter word. 1 minute we're on the enemy and it's very cool. And the next we're on the cover of Smash Hits, holding balloons. We got tarred with that Smash Hits image, where they would just make a pretty set around you, because you were free girls. So we had a massive reaction against that, and started writing more serious songs. Their first attempt at being more than a candy pop novelty featured burning pavements, strange voices, and sitting alone forlorn. Cruel Summer was about all our friends going away on holiday, while we were stuck in the city working. I have fond memories of sitting in the flat in Holborn, writing the lyrics with Siobhan after Steve and Tony had given us the basic backing track to work on.
Okay, wow, so they got writing credit for that. I hope. Get that money, girls. Ladies, women.
There's a quintessential Britishness to Cruel Summer, if only because complaining about the weather, whether dull or sunny, is national pastime.
That's funny.
But it's also a very introverted song, one for staring off into the ocean, dreaming of better, less lonely days. It comes across as a slinky electropop redo of Carole King's It Might As Well Rain Until September. Or their own personal Remember Walking in the Sand. But it's bombastic.
Is that the singer who does that no, 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 no thing that's in all those memes? Wait, what's her name? The Shangri-La. Oh, the Shangri-Las. I've heard of them. That's the song. Okay. I hear it all the time. The voice just sounded so familiar. Yeah.
But its bombastic, heartbroken harmonies replaced with perhaps the hookiest marimba line in pop history. The best summer songs remind you of your youth, what you did in your holidays, how it felt when you first kissed a boy, going away without your parents. For me, Cruel Summer played on the darker side. It looked at the oppressive heat. The misery of wanting to be with someone as the summer ticked by.
Wow. You know, the summer after I got my driver's license often comes to mind because I think I would drive around town with nowhere to go, just driving, listening to music. And that music that I listened to it became ingrained in my mind. So sometimes I'll hear a song and it'll take me back to that summer because I was just riding around listening to music and it was hot. I lived in Florida. It was hot and humid. I know what she's talking about.
Their desire to be taken seriously as musicians was often at odds with the fact that at their heart, Bananarama were all about fun. This sometimes led to them throwing professionalism out the window, much to the chagrin of their producers. They used to send us home for giggling. Every time we went to sing a line, we'd laugh, and they'd send us home like naughty schoolgirls. Or we'd have our knitting down on the floor. Or we'd be playing Frustration, and they'd say, "Come and sing this line," and we'd be reluctant to leave our games.
That's unfortunate. These producers are just trying to get stuff done. They're trying to get you hits. They're trying to get you money. Help them help you. I hate saying that, but this is one of those situations. They're on your team.
The video would be a similarly fun outing, set in New York for the sole reason that the group wanted to go there. It featured them bouncing around in ill-sized overalls, varyingly fixing cars, and throwing banana peels at cops. Shooting the clip was, as per the song, excessively hot, with August temperatures frequently breaking the 100-degree mark. In addition to the heat, it would be the first time the group partook of cocaine. That was our lunch. When you watch that video, we look really tired and miserable in the scenes we shot before lunch. And then the after-lunch shots are all euphoric and manic.
Wow, isn't that interesting? Huh. It's crazy to look back at the 80s and, I was a little kid then. If I had known that these ladies were on the cocaine, I don't know, I would have had a different interpretation of this video. I also I saw a video about that Robin Williams film Popeye from the 80s. They were all on cocaine. Everybody in that film was snorting it up all day long. So, strange to think about that. If I'd had known that in the 80s when I watched it, again, different interpretation. Weird.
Released at the end of June 1983, the song would reach number 8 in the UK charts.
All right.
With Wham's Club Tropicana, a funkier ode to the months of June, July and August, just below at number 10. Cruel Summer would also be...
I've never heard that Wham song.
Cruel Summer would also be Bananarama's first significant hit in the US, thanks to DJ Rodney Bingenheimer playing the track on K-Rock, and the rest of the country soon following suit. This combined with being featured in the box office leg-sweeping film, The Karate Kid. Made it so that Cruel Summer went number 9 in the US Billboard Hot 100. I'm very proud of the fact that we became successful on our own terms, wearing dungarees and Doc Martens, and not flaunting our sexuality. I think we were positive role models in an industry that's so sexualized.
That's really interesting. When I see them, I think they are sexualized. I guess they could have been more sexualized. Karate Kid is a huge movie here.
The industry was worse in the States. I remember some bloke from a company putting his hand down my trousers, and I just screamed and pushed him off. And he said, "Don't you want to be number one?" And I said, "No, not that much."
Yeah. The music industry in the States is wild. I guess I entered it technically a decade after that or more. And I was touched. Which is weird, You don't think it's going to happen to you, and then it does, and it's like, what? But I think accountability has come for the most part. Enough about that.
When they arrived in April 1984, their self-titled second album challenged the public's perception of the group as lightweight pop merchants by delving into darker subject matter. King of the Jungle examined the human cost of the contemporary British-Irish conflict. Rough Justice touches on various social ills, including domestic violence. While Hotline to Heaven was about drug abuse. But all still with their quirky pop coating. Their highest charting UK single, Robert De Niro's Waiting, explored a protagonist's obsessive celebrity crush as means to deal with a prior traumatic experience with a man.
I've never heard of any of those other songs. I think Cruel Summer's the only one I've heard. Robert De Niro's? Wow.
Our plan was to do something like Grace Jones's Pull Up to the Bumper. but somehow we ended up with a song based on a fantasy common to a lot of young girls, falling in love with a star, having their posters on their wall, and escaping into a world that's so much easier to deal with than a real relationship.
Oh, wow.
The line about walking in the park reflected an uglier, stalking side to the fantasy. At the end of 1984, they featured on the Do They Know It's Christmas single.
Oh.
Orchestrated
A precursor to We Are the World, right?
by the Boomtown Rats' Bob Geldof and Ultravox's Midge. The song gathered the cream of British and Irish pop music to put a spotlight on the famine devastating Ethiopia. Recorded in a single day, it went on to be Christmas #1 and the best-selling UK single of the 1980s. It drew the world's attention to the problem in a way that a news broadcast couldn't. That said, I'm mortified when I look back at the video now. There I am with a cigarette and a coffee, looking dreadful. Who on earth would record vocals with a cigarette these days? What's interesting looking back is that it was almost exclusively male artists in attendance. There were hardly any women. Just us and Jodie Watley from Shalimar.
Oh, wow.
That was it.
Wow. They did Venus. Okay, I have heard that song. It's interesting because before I watched this video, I would have totally thought they were just some pop creation. But they were against all that. They really wanted credibility in the music world, but they didn't want to put in the work, maybe. That's mean to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, stock Aitken Waterman, what is that? Venus and Their Legacy, 1985, Venus, Shakespeare's Sisters and Guinness, The Bear, song Cruel Summer, Bananarama.
Bananarama's fortune took a downturn after Robert De Niro's Waiting, with 3 relative chart failures, the worst being Hotline to Heaven, which struggled to get to number 58 in the UK. The group's third album, 1986's True Confessions, was mostly done when they decided their relationship with producers Swain and Jolly had run its course. Things would need to change, and once again the club scene had the answer, a production juggernaut on the cusp of taking over the world of pop. Stock Aitken, Waterman. As soon as we heard Dead or Alive's You Spin Me Round, we knew that's where we're going. I love that record. At that point, we were all on the same page. It was like, who produced Dead or Alive's single? Let's do Venus like that.
She's got it. Yeah, baby, she's got it.
It's extremely similar. Wow, let's hear that first song again.
You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, right round.
Okay.
She's got it. Yeah, baby, she's got it.
We'd been
Extremely similar.
struggling
Okay,
with
wow.
that third album, and we didn't have a lead single. And suddenly we had a single, and it turned everything around. Venus was a song originally by Dutch garage pop group Shocking Blue back in 1969.
What?
She's got it.
Oh,
Baby, she's got it.
okay. I have
Stock
heard that.
Aitken Waterman had mostly been a high-energy underground dance production team, but Bananarama and the high camp of Venus allowed them to be the pop production line, 80's Motown label, of Pete Waterman's dreams.
I'm your Venus. I'm your fire. Chocolate fire.
In addition to Venus, they would produce the track More Than Physical for True Confessions.
I've never heard that one.
And the whole of its follow-up, 1987's Wow. But as Bananarama
Oh my god, I've heard that Rumor song. Wow, I thought Cruel Summer was going to be the only song of theirs that I've heard, but I've heard 3 of their songs. I'm surprised. I didn't know they had more hits.
But as Bananarama had
Wow, it's interesting to hear the production differences between the early 80s stuff and the late 80s stuff. The late 80s stuff has that, it's brighter, there's more horns, it's like the synth sounds are a little more organic, like they're trying to create acoustic instruments, whereas the earlier 80s synth sounds they used were more just like pretty out there, not trying to sound like any particular instrument. Interesting.
the audacity to have opinions, and weren't the obliging, manufactured pop entities like Samantha Fox or Kylie Minogue that they were used to. Their working relationship was a major source of frustration for the production trio.
When you made a track with them, they would tell you what they didn't want before you started. So we don't want any of that Stock Aitken Waterman stuff in here.
Oh.
You go, right, let's get this right. You're working with Stock Aitken Waterman, the last thing you want is Stock Aitken Waterman in the record. Okay, right. Fine.
Wow.
There we know where we started, right? We don't want to mention the word love. You know, you try and write a song that's not got the word in love. I mean, it's like instantly you dry up.
I mean, it could be done, but yeah, that's tough. That's going into it with a negative outlook. We don't want this. We don't want that. Well, like, yeah, give me something to hang my hat on. What do you want? What do you want? Hate. Hate. Songs about hate. No drums.
Their partnership with Stock Aitken Waterman would also signal the beginning of the end for Bananarama's original lineup. Their new maximalist pop sound and more showy image felt increasingly hollow to Fahi, and alongside their non-stop work schedule, she had become disillusioned with being in the group. It was a combination of the fact that musically we'd gone absolutely full-on pop. At the time when I was feeling lost and dark and depressed in my life, I was obsessed with the Smiths, and I just wanted something that would... It had been a real pressure cooker. The three of us being together 24/7 for years. It couldn't continue. Bananarama would appear at the 1988 Brit Awards with Love in the First Degree, surrounded by a throng of topless male dancers, taking their burgeoning campness through the roof.
You're right.
But Fahi would leave the group soon after, forming the indie pop project Shakespeare's Sister with Marcella Detroit, its name taken from a Smith song. With this group, Fahi would achieve what Bananarama never could, and gained a UK #1 with the melodramatic gothic pop of Stay in 1992.
You'd better hope and pray.
In Bananarama,
I haven't heard that. Interesting. Wow, she had another #1. Crazy.
You'd better.
Oh, wait. Did they say? Oh, Bananarama never had a #1, and she had a #1. Oh my God. I did not expect that. I did not expect that at all. Wow, good for her.
and gained a UK #1 with the melodramatic gothic pop of Stay in 1992.
You'd better hope and pray.
In Bananarama, Fahi would be replaced by fellow Blitzclubber Jacqueline O'Sullivan, her first duty joining the group's first significant live performances on Wow's 1989 World Tour.
Yo, I think they kind of got the dancing. Somebody coached them into doing some choreography that's more in sync.
Her first duty joining the group's first significant live performances on Wow's 1989 World Tour. She too would leave after the disappointing Stock Aitken Waterman-less Pop Life album from 1991.
Wow. And isn't that came out in 1990? That is so 90s, isn't it? That is so early 90s. I feel like they had their finger on the pulse of what was popular, right? Or their producers did. But she left too. Okay.
Fleeting reunions with Fahi aside, Bananarama have remained for the most part a two-piece ever since.
Okay.
But they never really went away. Their last album, Masquerade, was released in 2022.
What?
And still managed to chart within the top 40.
What? Wait, let's hear it.
As a singles band,
Wow. I'm surprised they're still together. The sound of that sounded very modern. Wow.
As a singles band, they are unsurpassed in their niche, holding the Guinness World Record for the all-female group with the most UK chart entries ever. A total of 30 from 1982's It Ain't What You Do to 2009's Love Comes.
What? What? They hold the Guinness World Record for the most UK chart entries ever. 30 of them. I'm impressed. Bananarama.
From 1982's It Ain't What You Do to 2009's Love Comes. Influence-wise, the clearest successor to the girl group pop of Bananarama is the Spice Girls. They were to the 90s what Bananarama had been to the 80s, though slicker, higher charting, and with actual media training and confidence in interviews.
Confidence. See? No fear. Also, the Spice Girls seemed shameless with their pop image. They didn't care about music credibility, they don't seem to be. Like, they're happy dancing on the stairs in their neon colors, right? And that's great. Good for them.
But retaining some of their shambolic energy. Madonna is another artist that owes a lot to the Nanas, particularly their sense of fashion in her early career. Additionally, their manager for their 80s height, Hilary Shaw, would go on to represent Girls Aloud during their 2000s ascent. Also, confusingly, melodic death metal band Arch Enemy seemed to crib Cruel Summer's verse melody for part of the guitar harmony on 2009's My Apocalypse. I think Cruel Summer has
That was beautiful. Let's hear it again.
I think Cruel Summer has proved to be a classic song,
Yeah.
because different artists cover it for each generation, and it's quite a big hit.
It is.
When Ace of Base did their cover, it went top 10 in America again.
Yes. Right.
Evanescence.
Those Swedes, y'all. I learned that in Sweden, every kid is given government-funded music education. Music education is part of every kid's schooling. In America, you kind of opt into it or you opt out of it. It's like an elective. But in Sweden, these kids are doing it. And it shows. In the late 90s, the Swedish thing took over pop music. Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, NSYNC, all that Max Martin stuff. He's a Swedish guy. Swedish. Ace of Base, Swedish. Swedish. Jealousy.
Evanescence did it in lockdown on the keyboard, and it sounded beautiful.
Okay.
Lorde has done it. There have been rap ones and all kinds of things. I don't know what it is about that song, but it really has taken on a life of its own now.
Yeah.
Cruel Summer remains their career apex, a summer anthem that hates the sun, and one that remains eternal and evergreen, just as relevant now as ever, especially as the summers are getting increasingly cruel. Thanks for watching. What's your favourite Bananarama track? If you liked the video, like, subscribe, and why don't you also do me a favour and share it with a couple of people. It really does help. As always, I like to...
Y'all be sure to go to Trash Deer and like and subscribe. This was great. I'm surprised, y'all. I didn't know they were still going. I didn't know, like, they had so many charts. Charting hits. Hang on here. Bananarama. Venus is their top song. Oh, that's interesting. Cruel Summer is number 2. I Heard a Rumor's number 3. Okay, yeah, wow. According to Apple Music, Venus is a bigger song than Cruel Summer, but I guess Cruel Summer's the apex. Amazing. And what, their albums? Yeah, they just put one out in 2023. Wow. Yo, my eyes are going. I'm gonna just start wearing glasses in these videos. I'm trying to avoid it. so you can see my soul through the eyes. Anyway, this was fascinating. Be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.